Let's talk about the COVID-19 pandemic. It's been 5 years since the virus brought the entire world to a standstill. So are we prepared if another pandemic came our way? The answer might be yes.
We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
For the last 3 years, the World Health Organization has been trying to come up with a treaty, the Pandemic Treaty, one that will prepare the world better for the future. What is W.H.O.'s Pandemic Treaty? Will you and I be protected next time? And why is the US not part of it? I'm Ananya Dutta, and this is Grey Zone. In late 2019, something strange started to happen in Wuhan, China. People were showing up at hospitals with a mysterious pneumonia that didn't match anything doctors had seen before. By December 31st, 2019, China alerted the World Health Organization about this unknown illness. The world did not lose sleep over it, yet. Mysterious viruses show up now and then. You'll be surprised to know how many of them have been detected just this year. There is Lassa Fever in Nigeria, foot and mouth disease in Central Europe, Marburg virus in Tanzania. So the WHO continued to monitor what it now called the SARS coronavirus disease 2019. January 11 saw the first recorded death in China. The virus was now spreading fast. Flights were still operating, people were still traveling, and before long, the virus had jumped borders. It was only 3 months later the WHO declared COVID-19 a global pandemic, the first global pause in modern memory. The on and off pauses continued for the next 2 long years, the longest 2 years for many. COVID-19 hasn't vanished, but all of us have learned to live with it, thanks to the vaccines. But the world still counts the cost of it. Over 7 million people lost their lives, trillions in economic damage, and a generation forever marked by masks, quarantine, and Zoom calls. We don't know if there is another pandemic coming, but the WHO wants to be prepared if there is one in our future. About 3 years ago, the WHO and its members started discussing an agreement. They sat down with every single lesson they learned in the 2 years of the COVID pandemic and came up with this. There are a total of 37 articles. They are hoping negotiations will end today as a preliminary agreement has been reached. It starts with a promise. No one gets left behind. If a new virus emerges, vaccines and treatments won't just go to the highest bidder. This time, distribution will be fair, whether you live in Berlin or Bamako. The practical work begins in Chapter 2, where the world demands better defense. The agreement demands a watchful world. Countries must improve their surveillance systems and act on early signals. No more waiting for infections to snowball. Detection must be rapid and reporting transparent. This is something the WHO was constantly criticized for. The treaty also says we can't just focus on humans. This article pulls in the interconnectedness of animals, people, and the environment, because the next virus might be lurking in a forest, a farm, or a market we don't know. No more overworked, underprotected frontline workers. This article safeguards the people who safeguard us. Training, support, protection, and search capacity during crises. While all this sounds rosy, even without a pandemic, our healthcare sectors aren't taken care of. One of the main remaining sticking points have been Article 10 and 11. They deal with diversifying the production of vaccines and transfer technology for production of health products for pandemics. This is particularly important for developing countries. During the COVID-19 pandemic, poorer countries accused rich nations of hoarding vaccine doses and tests. Many countries with large pharmaceutical industries have meanwhile opposed the idea of mandatory tech transfers and have insisted on it being voluntary. Another remaining issue is language related to sanctions under Article 13. The text provides for the establishment of a global supply chain and logistics network to expand access to vaccines, treatments, and tests needed to fight pandemics. However, in discussions on Article 13, countries have yet to agree on granting unhindered access to health products outside of the pandemics or humanitarian contexts, which would allow countries under international sanctions to obtain things like vaccines, tests, and treatments. Negotiations had been scheduled to conclude last June, but were extended for a year in a bid to overcome disagreements. The 13th round of talks started last week as health agencies reeled from drastic foreign aid cuts by the United States. The US was the world's donor superpower until Donald Trump entered the White House. On his very first day in office, he decided to withdraw from the WHO. Washington has not taken part in the latest negotiations. Right-wing commentators in the country say that the move could undermine national sovereignty by giving too much power to a UN agency. The WHO has rejected such assertions. The pandemic treaty is not perfect. It's messy, ambitious, and still unfinished. But at its core, it's an attempt, a global attempt, to do better in time, where established healthcares like the US, UK, and India don't fall apart. Developing countries don't have to wait in line for critical medications. And the worst hit, poor countries, aren't left stranded to fend on their own. The US's absence from the treaty speaks volume. It's not like trade, where countries find alternatives. The US has unmatched scientific infrastructure, global influence, and resources that it is not willing to share, all because of power. But viruses don't care about borders and power. Maybe it's time our politics stop pretending they do.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.